Today, the boys are joined by a special guest to talk about NBA schedule releases and their favorite division, the AFC North. All that and more on the Norse Benchwarmers Podcast. Welcome back to the Norse Benchwarmers Podcast. I'm your host, Colton Smith, here joined by special, emphasis on the special guest, Phil Hoffman's here, folks. Phil Hoffman filling in for no pun intended, filling in for a sick Josh Northcutt today. Hopefully he gets to feeling better. But we're also here with co-host Ben Miller and director Garrett Jordan. Fellas, how it's opening day, I guess, in a sense here at NKU. People everywhere, which is so weird being on campus here throughout the summer. There is not a soul in sight. I think I'm the only one that's had a class so far, right? Or Ben, did you have one?
I did not, actually. I got one later this afternoon.
And all three of us got our classes later, man.
Yeah, no, I just got it out of the way, and I'm free for the rest of the day. So here we are. But how was your guys' last week of freedom in the summer?
I mean, it was good. I mean, pretty much just been working. Wanted to watch the Michigan race yesterday, but got rained out.
Mother Nature had other ideas. What's that? You know that it gets started today, like 1 or something?
It's actually going on right now.
Oh, of course.
Started at 11.
Oh man, so I'm missing that. I'll try and I probably won't record, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, I'll
try to feed you some updates if I can.
Okay, please do. Yeah, please do. I was wondering if I wanted to be spoiled or not, but it's Michigan. It's not that interesting of a race.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll age perfectly.
Yeah.
Anywho, I do have a couple housekeeping things to clean up here. We are now moving the release date of the Norse Benchwarmers to Tuesdays. This one comes out on a Wednesday just because we didn't announce it last week. So be expecting it around the same time in the afternoon on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays now. And also, we talked about it last week. We announced it last week. Our fantasy draft, our first live show, September the 3rd. What time? We moved the time, didn't we? 7:30?
Correct.
So we'll start the show at 7:30. The draft will get started at 7:45. And be sure to tune in. That's going to be a lot of fun. Phil will be back in the studio. That was going to be his full episode debut. Yeah. It's going to be a blast. We'll have Alex in here. Very excited. September the 3rd at 7:30. Be there or be square. But
it's going to be fun.
Now that I have that housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the starting lineup for this week. Starting with something a little close to home, the Cincinnati Open. That's never going to not sound weird to me. Where we have the championship matches go on today. They've already completed by the time you all have seen it. But there's been some drama. There's been some fun stuff. I haven't watched as much as I would have liked. But still, I've heard it's been a great tourney. Garrett will probably know a little bit more about that, though.
Yeah, there's nothing more that I love than seeing the world's biggest tennis stars come compete in the rural Midwest America.
Of course.
It's the best tournament, obviously.
For sure.
So, unfortunately, it started last week. I don't think we got a chance to talk about it last week, so I won't bore you guys' ears too much, but I'll just go over the semifinals matches for both the ATP and WTA, and then a little finals preview. So the first semifinal was Jannik Sinner versus Sasha Zverev, two top 10 tennis players right now. Sinner ended up winning, final score of 7-6, 5-7, 7-6. This was two guys that are at the top of their game, and it's basically who's going to make the most mistakes, and it ended up being Zverev this time. So Sinner moves on to the final, and he will be facing Frances Tiafoe, who defeated Holger Rune in an epic comeback. 4-6, 6-1, 7-6 with a 7-4 score in the tiebreaker. Tiafoe came back in the third set down 2-5 to advance to his first ever Masters 1000 final, and he saved 2 match points along the way. So that's very impressive to be able to come down from that far, and to be able to say that you finally made it to your first 1000 finals is impressive. Looking forward to that match incredibly. On to the women's side, women's semifinal, Sabalenka versus Swiatek, kind of similar to Sinner versus Zverev on the men's side. It's just who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, and Sabalenka was the clear winner here, winning 6-3, 6-3. She'll face Jess Pegula in the final after she took down Badosa 6-2, 3-6 to 6-3. And an interesting fact a fact I found interesting was that Pegula actually won the 1000s tournament last week for the women in Toronto. So it'll be interesting to see if she can keep that winning streak going.
Yeah, moving back to the men's, Frances Tiafoe is a guy I remember texting you about him. He was playing Alcaraz, I believe, in Wimbledon, and yeah, I noticed like he seemed doing very well until he kind of got injured, and then to see him come back, go on a hot streak, and he said it was his first finals match in a 1,000.
Yeah, it's his first 1,000s final.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, just seeing him, kind of. I mean, I don't know much about his career because I'm not as well versed in tennis as you are. But I mean, is this kind of like the peak of his career right now? Is he hitting his prime maybe, or I don't know everything.
I wouldn't argue it's necessarily the peak of his career. I mean, he was a U.S. Open semifinalist just a few years ago where he lost to Alcaraz, I believe, in the semifinals. So he's always kind of been there. He's just been bounced by some of the bigger dogs.
Right.
So to see him finally get over that hump is just, I mean, it was against Holger Rune, who's outside the top 15, but still, to come back from down 3 games in a final deciding set against the top 20 player is incredible. And also, just his story, period, is incredible. I encourage you to look it up. It's an impressive story. But I'll dive into the finals predictions here.
Okay.
For the men, so it's going to be Sinner and Tiafoe. Their head-to-head history, Sinner owns it 3-1.
Okay.
However, Sinner owns it 3-1, and Sinner won the last matchup in the quarterfinals. And the women's final, Pegula and Sabalenka, they've met 6 times. Sabalenka leads the series 4-2. However, their last matchup they played each other in was the 2023 WTA Finals in the first round, and Pegula won. So it could be a bit of a revenge game for Sabalenka. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm excited for these 2 finals, honestly.
Yeah, these are two good finals for sure. I'm definitely rooting for Tiafoe and USA in that, and it's nice seeing the homer getting the nice run here. It seems like I watched a little bit of the match last night, and they had like a graphic where it said like his recent finishes in like the States, and a lot of them were semis or pretty good finishes. So it seems like when he's at home, he's comfortable. He seems to turn it into another gear. So that gets me excited for the U.S. Open and what he maybe could do there.
For sure. No, it's a bit of a meme right now in the tennis community how well Tiafoe does on U.S. soil compared to how poorly he does overseas. So I'm definitely looking forward to his performance at the U.S. Open, especially building all this momentum at Cincinnati, which is the de facto like warm up tournament for the big pros before the U.S. Open.
Yeah, well, I'm also rooting for Pegula as well. She'll get started here actually in a couple hours. Did I say that right? Or
yeah, Pegula. Yeah,
Pegula?
You got it right.
Oh, I got it right for once.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, it's got when the Americans are in the final, you got to pull for the Americans.
Absolutely,
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
Well, hopefully those are some great matches. I think they will be for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to something maybe a little more in Phil and Ben's realm here and talk about some baseball. Garrett's got a little bit to talk about. He actually went to Reds game, but we won a game against the Brewers to start the week, and we won't talk about the rest of that series. That's just normal
We
Brewers
can't
series
beat
stuff.
them.
No,
That's just
no.
normal Reds play.
That'll shock. Actually, did we beat them in a series earlier this year?
I don't think so.
I thought when we were kind of on our streak we did, but I could be wrong. Anyways, we swept the Cardinals. Okay, all right, that's a division opponent. We made a little headway. Okay, and then we get swept by the Royals, and not only swept, but Garrett, what was the score in the game?
Well, so the game I went to was the meat games of the series sandwich, if you will. I went to the Saturday game, and the Reds lost 13-1. I think I was talking with a coworker this morning, and I think he said in the Kansas City Royals series, the total like runs scored differential, I think Kansas City scored like 25 plus runs, and the Reds scored 3. Like the whole series. You're not gonna win baseball.
No,
Nope.
not at
you're
all.
not.
No.
Yeah, at this point, you got to be playing better baseball. And what I really don't like about how this has all gone down is how David Bell has been talking to the media about these games.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's been very
it's
pushed.
just one game. You know,
Right.
we've been here before. It's like, no, you got to take command of your team. You know, you got to get them through this rut. You got to really force them
Absolutely.
to win games.
Yeah, just sitting there and accepting it isn't really going to do anything. What are you going to do about it? And he never really goes into the details like, oh, we had some bad luck, or oh, we had this happen to us. Sure, you're going to have that come up throughout the course of a season, but it's just like you gotta take accountability, and I don't think David Bell has ever done that. But Ben, you got some stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Coming into this Cardinal series, though, I mean, they obviously played great. Like you guys mentioned, they swept the Cardinals. They were one game below 500, and I was telling myself this is probably going to be the weekend that they are going to get back above 500.
That's why you never have hope in this team.
I know, but at the same time, though, I'm thinking it's just going to be the same story all year.
There it
every
is.
time when we get close, they end up losing. Yeah, it's just unbelievable
It's
that
heartbreaking
this team.
every year.
At least it was like a respectable opponent. Like the Royals, that's a good team. Like
Right,
I didn't
yeah.
expect to win the series against the Royals to begin with, but I thought maybe we would give a pulse or a fight of some sort. But
But
yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I just don't know how you play really good offensively against the Cardinals and then go down to the Royals like that. I just don't understand at all.
Because the team lacks consistency. It's
Right.
just that's the one thing they've been missing all year. And last year, Matt McClain was that consistent bat. So we need Matt McClain back bad. And it seems like he might be coming back soon, but they might just go ahead and rest him the whole year.
Might as well at this
Yeah,
point.
Yeah,
at this
for
point, if the
sure.
Reds are going to be eliminated from playoff contention, might as well just rest him the whole year.
I feel like there's lack of a game plan too. It's just kind of like a random assortment of lineups and formations or whatnot. It doesn't really feel like there's an identity, you know, like something that this team can rely on. Their pitching is honestly maybe getting to not against the Royals. That's actually a terrible time to say anything about the
Yeah,
pitching.
bad
But
example, but-
for a while there was some good pitching performances. I mean, Hunter Green is taking off for sure.
On the IL.
Oh, he is?
Yep.
Dude,
He,
I'm sorry.
He went on the IL with elbow tightness.
I am going to
Yep.
stop
So-
talking about the Reds because
Yeah.
I just haven't followed them enough
We're
this last
gonna-
week, I guess.
We're gonna hope that that's not anything too serious that'll require surgery or anything like that. Because if Hunter
Hopefully
Green
not.
goes down, that's like
Yeah,
Other
we
than-
can't afford
outside-
to lose
outside
him
of-
anymore.
outside of Ellie De La Cruz, he's like the face of the team.
Absolutely.
For sure, without a doubt.
If he goes down, I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard, man. It's hard to be a Reds fan.
Yeah.
Well, it is time to move on to our next segment that we will not be talking about the Reds because it involves winning. It's time for the winner's circle. Phil, as our guest, would you like to start off with a winner?
No, I would not.
We might not. To be fair, Phil had about an hour and a half of prep, so we'll
Right,
let
yeah.
let him think
I'll let
about.
you guys take this one.
All right. Well, yeah. So coming on a short prep, but my winner is actually Francis Tiafoe. That's the guy I picked to kind of get tennis in there. But like you said, getting to his first finals at the 1,000 level, and just kind of the run he's been on since Wimbledon. I know he didn't go too deep into Wimbledon, but he gave Alcaraz a pretty good game. So he's my winner for this week, making it to the finals. USA, maybe just USA in general, having two competitors in the finals this week. Yeah, that's my winner.
For myself, I'm going with Evan McPherson signing his 3-year, $16.5 million deal. So Money Mac's getting his bag.
Nice.
Always love to see kickers get paid.
Oh, for sure.
It's always great.
Yes. Beautiful scenes. Garrett?
I mean, Colton, you kind of stole the words right from my mouth. I was gonna pick Tiafoe as well. I mean,
I had a feeling when you were talking about, like, crap, did we pick the same one?
Yeah, I had a feeling too. He's just, I mean, like I said, what he did yesterday was incredible. I mean, that doesn't happen often in the sport of tennis. So to be able to pull that off at a tournament where you are playing in your home country is something that gives you just so much energy as a player. You get that momentum going. That's just why, like, I think the men's final is going to be incredible. The number one player in the world and an American that just had a 3-game deficit comeback to win, to advance to his first ever 1000s finals. It's like storybook, honestly.
Yeah, that was essentially like I just like wrote down a very basic answer, and then Garrett gave the good answer, the A+ answer there. So thank you, Garrett, for making my winner's circle look better in retrospect. But
Naturally.
Phil, did you think of any winners? I can think of one for you.
Yeah, who do you got?
Your wide receiver on South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Man, let me tell you. I got this Nick Harbor, man. Best player in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started a new dynasty, and we just picked random teams, and you got South Carolina. I was like, don't they have a good wide receiver? And this is all we hear about now. It's just
I very quickly found out that he is a great wide receiver. All you need is speed in that game, man. Let me tell you. I just put him on a vert every play.
Yeah,
Throw
it
it
just
up.
blows by the
Yep.
yeah. Oh man, I can't wait. I haven't had that receiver yet. I can't wait to get one of those though. But yeah, that's our winner's circle for this week. A little impromptu, but we're going to move on to the NBA now. Phil, I know you're not the most well versed in the NBA. You have an idea of what's going on. You know,
I
some
know
of
what
the
the
teams.
NBA is.
You
yes.
know, yes, it's a league that involves basketball. But we had a schedule reveal. Maybe we can try and explain this to you in like NFL terms. That
right.
would be
I like
interesting.
that.
We can maybe try that. So we have the schedule reveal. They revealed the whole schedule. We just got some key points here. Opening day, of course, is the big one on October 22nd. We have the Knicks in Boston. Why did I say it like that? We have the New York Knicks going up against the Boston Celtics, and that's potentially a conference finals preview, I would say.
I 100% agree.
I think it could definitely be a conference finals preview between those two. Very loaded teams. Celtics just came off the championship.
Of course.
I wouldn't. They're kind of like the Chiefs, but they're just like stacked. I
Are
don't.
they like the preseason favorites here going into the season?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably. I haven't seen them, but they're probably there. If they're not one, they're two. So
Arguably the
Gotcha.
best roster coming in this upcoming season.
yeah, for sure. And they retain everybody. So yeah, I would say they're basically like currently the Chiefs of the NBA, where they don't have the best player necessarily, but they have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, two top 10, top 15 players. So I mean they're stacked, and they're going up against the Knicks, who are. I don't know how I would equate them to the NFL, but they have a really deep, very stacked team, and just haven't seen them. They got injured last year against my Pacers, so they weren't able to make it to the conference finals. But they definitely, if everybody is healthy, they're just as deep as that Celtics team. Their best player probably isn't as good as Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, but he can be on certain occasions. So, yeah, that's opening night. But, Ben, what are some other key dates you got?
I'm looking at, for opening week, another matchup that I'm looking forward to are the Spurs and the Mavericks, because it'll be interesting to see how...
Yes, I had that down too.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the Spurs will do this year. I mean,
Absolutely.
especially with giving Victor Wembanyama that guard help with Stephon Castle and Chris Paul. I feel like Chris Paul's veteran leadership is going to be beneficial to that team. So overall, I'm feeling really good about the Spurs this year. I feel like they have a chance to potentially make a playoff run. I don't know if I'm talking a little crazy, but
No, you're not.
all right. So, and also the Mavericks, though, obviously they finished runner-up to the Boston Celtics last year in the finals.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of players that are returning this year, and they have a lot of contracts going through, I believe, 2026. So not too much loss there. So I feel like they're going to be in great shape for this upcoming season. So overall, great matchup.
Yeah. I would equate the Spurs to be like the Chargers maybe last year, where you have like
Okay.
Justin Herbert, like generational talent, and then just absolutely nobody else. Well, you
Yeah.
had Keenan Allen, but
Sure.
yeah. So you have like Victor Wembanyama. I'm sure you've seen him around, and he's kind of the main guy on there. They have some solid guys around him, but they're all young, just kind
Still
of
waiting to take that big leap. you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I
And he's just
gotcha.
in his second year, so it'll be really interesting to see what that second year leap looks like for Wemby, and also like what that second year leap looks like for the Spurs and the team around him.
For sure.
And the Mavericks, they were in the finals last year. They were the runner up, largely behind Luka Doncic. As is he the best? He's the best player in the world right now, I would
mean,
say. I think
it's
that's
debatable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just always kind of rotates which between Giannis, Luka, or Jokic, which one made it to the finals that year, and it just kind of just rotates. But
Right, yeah.
You are my sunshine.
okay.
We're not going to include LeBron in that?
No, he's still top 10, but I mean, yeah, you can include him in there, but he's half the season he's just kind of chilling. But yes, Steph Curry is probably a one that needs to be mentioned after his Olympic performance.
Yeah, for
that's one that kind of had fallen from it, but he's definitely still up there. But yeah, I mean that's going to be interesting to see. The Spurs kind of started off. I remember like the first 3 games thinking, okay, they might be good, and then they just went off into oblivion. But
Yeah, I mean, like last year, they were having all sorts of problems with their backcourt. So, like I mentioned before,
they
with,
wouldn't address that right away too.
Yeah,
with Chris
like-
Paul and Stephon Castle.
yeah, well, like with those two guys, I feel like they're going to be really, really good this year with Victor Wembanyama.
It's a team that maybe starts off rough, but as the season goes on, they can definitely improve and sneak into that play-in spot and make it to the playoffs. I don't know if a run is really in the cards yet. I
Probably
think
not. Yeah.
they need Stephon Castle or somebody to develop into that second kind of all-star level player for them to make a run in the playoffs, but it wouldn't shock me. Wemby is insane. We saw it in the Olympics as well.
Oh, for sure.
He's
for
insane.
Sure.
But,
yeah, he's definitely fun to watch.
Moving down the list, the other one I have here on that Thursday you were talking about,
Yes.
Oklahoma City versus Denver. That'll be interesting. Is Denver going to be – because they looked a little rough there in the playoffs, I will be honest. I kind of thought that team was, invulnerable. But after seeing them in the playoffs lose to Minnesota and really – look like rough with the depth, and then they didn't go and fix that depth much this offseason. Did they end up getting Westbrook? I know that was always up in the air.
I believe they did, yeah.
They ended up getting him.
Yes.
That'll be interesting to see how that fits. It's a pickup for sure, but we have to wait and see how that fits in. I'd love to see Westbrook get a ring, though, if it's possible. And then you look at the other team, OKC. They are probably... they're the Texans maybe, or the Packers. They're the Packers.
Okay, exciting
team. Well, they just went and got the 1 seed in like kind of their first or second year as a core. So I mean, they're really good. They have Shai Gilgeous, who's probably somebody we should have mentioned in the conversation for best player in the world.
Yep.
And they got a super talented team, very young team. I can't think of anybody on there that's like over 25. So you got a long future, but it'll be interesting to see how those two teams kind of face off early in the year. At the end of the day, opening week, does it really matter in the grand scheme? You have teams that get off to a slow start. You have teams like Utah that one year that goes like 8-0 to start the season. So, but it's always fun, especially when you're just itching for basketball content when they drop that to talk about it. But is there any other dates? Or I know I have one circled, but I'll let you take one.
I'm actually going to go to the Christmas game if that's cool.
Let me get one in. I have one from that week. It's on that Friday. Indiana, New York, of course, have to talk about it. Semifinal preview from last year. It's also ties or is half. I think it's half of. I think we only had 2 nationally televised games last year, so it's happy to see the Corn getting on there, getting some TV, and I'm very excited for what the Pacers can do this year. It'll be a nice measuring stick game, and Knicks and Pacers every game until the Knicks got deadly injured. It was always a fun show throughout the regular season and throughout the playoffs. But what Christmas games you want to talk about? It's a pretty interesting lineup.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Let's see here. Oh, here's one. I'm looking at the 76ers and the Celtics. I believe this is going to be a little preview of what we're going to see in the Eastern Finals, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know about the Sixers. They're definitely better than last year. If they can get a full season of Embiid, who's another guy who probably could be in that best player in the world conversation if he can play in the playoffs. But
yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see Tyrese Maxey and Embiid, but I'm interested to see how Paul George will adapt to playing with these two guys, which I feel like they can bring a lot of great chemistry on the court this upcoming season. Yeah. I feel like with Paul George's leadership and his veteran leadership, that's going to be beneficial to this young squad. So, are they as good as the Celtics? Probably not, no. I would say. But overall, though, I feel like they can probably make a run at him for sure.
Yeah, I think Embiid's a guy. As long as you have him, you're in every game. It's just a matter of how those games fall. But yeah, Paul George. Obviously, I have a little bit of a history with them as a Pacers and Damian Lillard fan. I'm not his biggest fan, but I will admit he is an outstanding player, and he's the type of player that can really fit on any team. He can adjust his game to what that team needs, and not only do it, but do it at a high level, whatever that team needs. And this team needs shooting. Well, guess what? Paul George can be a knockdown shooter for him, and I'm excited to see what he can do in this offense with Joel Embiid, with Tyrese Maxey. And I honestly, they still have Buddy. No, they don't. Buddy's on the Warriors. But I'm trying to think of who else is on this team, and that's the main issue. It's just the lack there of depth and affiliate. They picked up that guy who dunked on LeBron, maybe or maybe not, allegedly. But Yabusele, I believe, he was on the French team, right? Yeah.
I think
he was on that French team. Yeah, because it was in that game. So. Yeah, they got him, so I don't know if how much of a role he'll play, but some interesting pickups. But at the end of the day, we just have to see how they all work out. I don't think the depth will be there like Boston or New York. So I would venture to guess they're probably a semi team. But as long as you got Joel Embiid, as long as you have a great player, I think there's always a chance for you to be in each game and eventually win each game. It's just a matter of how it all falls.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Another matchup I'm looking at are the Timberwolves and the Mavs.
That will be a thriller on Christmas Day.
Yeah, definitely.
I get one game on Christmas Day now that the NFL has unfortunately taken that day over.
Oh, yeah,
Love
baby.
the NFL, but Christmas has always just been a day for basketball for me. So I'm sad that I have to watch it on my phone. But I do get one game on the TV. That will be the game because it will be a thriller for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Timberwolves, they got a lot of players returning this year. I mean, with Rudy Gobert, his defense is going to be beneficial as it was to the team last year. And for the Mavs, we obviously got Luka. So overall, though, just a lot of talent in this team on both these teams. And I feel like they're going to make a lot of noise this upcoming Christmas for sure. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I mean that Timberwolves team is going to be very geared up and ready to fight that Mavericks team as they got swept by them in the sweep. They pretty much handedly beat them in the conference finals.
Yeah.
The Mavericks did. So, and I definitely expected the Timberwolves to put up more of a fight. So they're going to be gunning for that Mavericks team. They got Anthony Edwards coming off an impressive Olympic Games, and I think that will be interesting to see. But there's also the other side of the coin, though, where the Timberwolves is only 1 year looking this good. Is that a 1 year wonder? Are they a one-hit wonder? Will they be back playing at that same level? I've seen it time and time again. I kind of hope not because I actually really enjoyed seeing Minnesota finally be good.
Absolutely.
I love Ant.
Yeah.
I like Cat a little bit, but yeah, I do. In the back of my mind, I'm just thinking we only had 1 year of this. Will we see some holes start to pop up? I do like what they did in the draft with Dillingham, and they drafted Shannon. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but yeah, I mean, they'll be a fun team to watch. I don't think there's just the back of my mind being an experienced NBA vet that they could end up flopping. But looking more at some of these other Christmas Day games, you got the Spurs and the Knicks there at the beginning of the day, and it'll be interesting to see Wemby getting his Christmas Day debut. I'm sure we'll have plenty more Wemby Christmas Day games.
Yep.
So. But it'll be interesting to see him going up against one of the heavyweights in the East. I find it interesting they do an East versus West matchup to start the day. Like I usually think Knicks should be playing like the Nets or the Celtics, but however it works, however it plays out. And then to round out the night, you got Bron versus Curry, the Lakers and the Warriors, two teams that we know have the talent to be competitive in the West, but don't necessarily know how that's going to fit or if they're even going to be out of the play-in. It really could go either way on how this talent fits together, but that Bron versus Curry, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't go wrong with that matchup, especially on Christmas Day.
Absolutely.
Bron versus Curry, though, and I feel like this is going to be a preview of what we're going to see possibly in the play-in tournament, but
yeah, it's weird to say that, but you're right.
I mean,
I think it seems like two teams that will just underperform expectations. I thought the Lakers had a decent offseason, but I don't know how that's all going to play out.
And also, I'm interested to see how Buddy Hield will adapt to being Steph Curry's new splash brother.
Yeah,
because I feel like he is one of the most slept-on shooters in the league, in my opinion. I feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. I mean, when he was at Oklahoma, though,
That's what I was about to bring up. I saw a highlight clip from him at Oklahoma the other day.
Yeah, like when he was at Oklahoma, though, I always look forward to watching him. I mean, he is such a dog.
Absolute dog. He was insane at Oklahoma. I mean, 3-level scorer. He could do it all. He'd get to the bucket. At NBA, he's just kind of been reduced to a spot-up shooter and whatnot, and that's just part of it. But yeah, this guy, if you don't remember Buddy Hield, go watch some of his highlights back at Oklahoma because he was a dog there. But
led him to the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits. Honestly, with the way Klay kind of ended his tenure there at Golden State, he could definitely fill that role. But even if he does that with that Klay Thompson, didn't even make the playoffs, right? They were in the play-in, but I don't think they ended up winning that.
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, so, anywho, and then to wrap up the night, we have Denver versus Phoenix. That'll be an interesting game as well. I don't know how that Suns team's going to look. They did a pretty good job this offseason. They got Tyus Jones. Is that the one?
Tyus Jones, yes.
Yes, that will be a very key pickup. That's like getting your quarterback that you've been looking for. The point guard, getting that point guard.
Right.
Devin Booker, I never liked him at point guard. He's a much better shooting guard. We saw that in the Olympics, what kind of level he can play when he is at his best. He's another one that I hope can translate to the NBA this season, but. Yeah, that'll be a fun game there at the end. Man, this conversation got me excited to start previewing the NBA. We'll be doing that here in a couple
excited to watch the basketball.
yeah.
Man. I might heat up my eggnog, throw that on next to my. I'm gonna get all excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But we're gonna end this segment with a little bit of talk about the WNBA. I saw a great game last night. The Fever, was that last night? Maybe it was 2 nights. No, it was definitely yesterday.
Yep.
The Fever versus the Liberty. No, wasn't the Liberty.
I think they played the Storm.
Storm. Yes,
Yeah.
Storm. Well, I wanted to say Sonics there for a second, but the Storm. Seattle Storm.
Sonics.
Great game. I believe the Fever's second game coming back, and they looked good. I mean, they hit like 14 threes. Anytime you hit 14 threes in the WNBA, you're probably going to be on the upper end of that game, but the offense looked a lot better than the last time I had seen it, and all around this team looks a little scary going in the playoffs. But
Yep.
you know, at the end of the day, you have much more talented teams up here at the top of the standings with the Liberty, who I watched play against the Aces, and that was also a pretty good game. But the Liberty just kind of looked a step ahead that whole time.
Yeah, for sure.
They currently have pretty well separated themselves as the best team in the league at 23-4, and then you got the Sun behind them in the East at 19-7. The Sun is a very gritty team, and I like them as a matchup against the Liberty. But we'll have to wait and see on there. The Lynx, Aces, Storm, and Mercury all look pretty good as well. But Ben, you have anything on the WNBA?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to the Fever real quick. I mean, ever since the second half of the season started, though, they have been on fire offensively. I mean, you got Caitlin Clark, Mitchell, Hall. They're all forming that chemistry.
Yeah, Hall
really well.
was the one that was ballistic. And
Yeah.
I mean, Mitchell had a great first half as well. I mean,
Right.
they all just kind of three work together, and that's what they need. And we didn't even mention Boston, the Rookie of the Year last year.
Right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that team could really be nice if they keep up this level of play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just excited to see what else they have for the rest of the regular season, and they're proving right now. They're proving to everybody right now that they are a legitimate playoff team, and they can pull off a lot of upsets. So we'll see what happens down the road for sure. I'm excited.
Makes me even more intrigued for what could possibly happen next season. And we need to make sure we get out to a game. The conversation started a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
Alex was talking about we need to get ourselves out to a Fever game. That would have been the game to go. I wasn't doing anything. I don't think Phil, were you doing anything? I don't think any of us were doing anything. We didn't even talk about it.
Well, I mean, I had work, unfortunately.
Oh, you had work.
Yep.
Oh.
Work always gets in the way.
Yeah,
It always
for real.
does.
Yep.
It always does.
But yeah, we definitely need to figure out a date because I've
sure.
been wanting to go to a Fever game all season, and time's ticking. It's about to wrap up. So
Yeah,
we gotta make sure we get that in. But now it is time for our trivia question of the day. I will go ahead and throw it to Garrett. I have a chance to extend my lead on Josh here today, so let's hope we
All right.
keep that going.
All right, boys. I feel kind of bad for Phil. I feel he's been left out of the conversation a little
I
bit.
apologize, Phil.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I
When
don't.
we talked about NBA, I kind of expected it, but
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I figured I'd go NFL for this
Nice.
trivia.
Oh yeah.
All right, all right.
All right. Now this one will test your knowledge of salaries and contracts.
okay.
All right. As of today, who currently has the highest paying contract among offensive linemen in the National Football League?
Ooh.
Oh, I know where he's
That's
at.
great.
I can't think of the name. He's on the Titans, isn't he?
No, he is not
I
on the
don't
Titans.
You say lineman?
Yeah, I said offensive lineman.
The highest paid offensive lineman.
A Titans lineman isn't even in the top 10.
I know
so I don't know who you're
Really?
a
thinking
lot
of.
of guys got paid this offseason.
Did
So
he
I'm
go
trying to get
from
through
the
my head of
Titans to
that.
somewhere?
No, he did not go from somewhere
No, the
to
Titans
anywhere.
haven't had that great of an O line here recently.
No,
Yeah.
they signed somebody. I thought it was a record-breaking deal. I guess I was mistaken. Yeah, we're probably gonna need a hint here.
I
Yeah.
think I have a guess.
You
Should
do,
I just
Phil?
blurt it out here?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
go
ahead.
for it.
All right, I'm gonna say Tristan Wirfs. I know he just got paid this offseason. I think it's got to be up there at least.
No,
Oh,
It is not
man.
Tristan Wirfs. He is not even in the top 10.
All
wow.
right, Garrett.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll have to keep on dogging on us because they're not in the top 10.
All right. Do you guys? Would you guys like a
have
hint?
known this guy before?
It's definitely a name that you guys know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's
a
gotta
name
be
that
a
you
big
know.
name.
Yeah, I figure I know him. It's just a matter of
Would you like a hint?
you just got to point
Yes.
us in a
How about a
direction.
division?
All right, I was gonna give you a division. Gentlemen, let's explore the NFC North.
I think I know who it
NFC
is.
Renfro? Is that his name? He's on the Lions?
No.
How about Christian Darrisaw on the Vikings there?
No.
Oh man.
Ben, you got a guess? You're the only one that hasn't.
To be honest, I'm trying to memorize some names on the NFC North's offensive line. To be honest, I don't know.
Penny
It's not-
Sewell or something?
Oh!
right.
Philip Hoffman
Nice.
All right.
with the
We-
Penny
Guests
Sewell
remain
call.
undefeated on this show. That's
Penny
crazy.
Sewell,
right.
Penny Sewell is making $28 million this year as part of his
crazy.
contract.
That's
That-
fantastic. Hey,
that
well
was
earned.
forming in my head because I was like, "Oh, I bet it's the guy that we should have picked instead of Jamar." We were thinking about picking instead of Jamar
Hey,
Chase.
Jamar Chase will get
Yeah,
paid a whole
yeah.
lot more than he will.
That's
real
very
soon.
true. Very true. But yeah, good job, Phil. Wow, that is guess to Norse Benchwarmer 0.
This feels
Also-
great, man. I'm always playing along at home.
Also, I know I had said I would provide updates on that Michigan race for y'all.
All right, let's hear it.
So currently we're on lap 203 of 206. We've gone into
Overtime.
Of
overtime.
course.
William Byron currently leads the pack.
Damn,
Tyler
I forgot
Reddick in second. Keselowski third. Ty Gibbs fourth. Kyle Busch fifth.
Okay, that's a top 5. That's a top 5
That
for
is-
sure. My prediction of a 4 does not sound like it's aging very well unless Keselowski can get up there.
Ryan
Yeah.
Blaney's in sixth. So
Okay.
if that helps.
Yeah, the issue is it's just they're not going to be able to pass there at the end, so it's just going to have to hope that you can get a damn good restart and get past them. So it's really either that top 3 unless something crazy happens and somebody goes on the outside. But yeah, that sounds like an entertaining finish there for sure.
Yeah,
Always with
I mean, two guys fighting for their playoff lives, and Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch.
That's
so
true.
that need a win. I mean, Ty Gibbs necessarily doesn't need to win, but
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, he definitely needs a win for
he
sure.
for sure needs a win. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how that wraps up. Maybe you can sneak that in at the end of the episode or something.
I'll see what I can do.
All right.
All right.
All right, but it's time to move on to the best division in the NFL, the AFC North, and we of all the episodes to have Phil on here,
This is
I'm glad
perfect,
this is the
man.
one because
I'm so happy this is the one.
he's well versed in Bengals and AFC North, and I will assume right now we'll probably go over on the Bengals a little bit, so we might have to cut some others. But the Bengals are where we start because we finished last.
Yep.
Not saying that again in the division last season. So Ben, you won the trivia question last week, so you get to talk about him this week.
All right.
What do you got?
All right, guys. So last season, the Bengals, they finished 9-8. This offseason, they got Geno Stone, Von Bell, running back Zach Moss, Sheldon Rankins, Trent Brown, Mike Gesicki, Jermaine Burton, Amarius Mims, Chris Jenkins, Eric All, and Josh Newton. Their losses are Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Jonah Williams, DJ Reader, and Awuzie. And the biggest question this year is, can Joe Burrow stay healthy? I mean, he's obviously coming off that wrist injury he sustained a year ago.
Yep.
But, when he's healthy, though, we obviously know we've seen it from LSU. He led them to the Fiesta Bowl, national championship. And in his NFL career, though, he obviously led the Bengals to the Super Bowl, led them to the AFC championship game as well. But this defensive line, they ranked 26th in rush defense last season, so I'm excited to see what Chris Jenkins has to bring to the squad. I mean, he's going to be joining Rankins, Hubbard, and Hendrickson, so I feel like hopefully they can turn it around, though. As a matter of fact, he got a sack on Caleb Williams over the weekend, so that's a little preview of what we're
Nice.
going to be seeing.
That will be the only portion of that game we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I want to look at the secondary, though. They ranked 28th last season. Yeah. So, Geno Stone, obviously, he was a big factor in Baltimore's defense.
Absolutely.
Baltimore's defense last year, one of the best defenses in the NFL under Mike McDonald, excuse me. So, I feel like he's going to bring a lot of leadership to that secondary. And of course, like I mentioned before, we got Von Bell. He knows the system really well with Cincinnati. He has great chemistry with a lot of these guys on defense, especially with Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, Cam Taylor-Britt, and Mike Hilton. And he knows Lou Anarumo really well. And Lou Anarumo, he knows him really well as a player. So we obviously know what he can do in the
Should fit
past.
like a glove, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And Josh Newton, though, he had a pick versus Tampa Bay, though. He had a 90.9 coverage grade, tied first among rookie cornerbacks. So he's somebody to pay attention to this offseason because I feel like he can be beneficial. But the one I was most excited about this offseason was when they drafted Jermaine Burton. I mean, Zach Taylor, he was obviously really excited to get his pick. After the draft. He had a great performance against Tampa Bay with three receptions, 82 yards, a 37-yard touchdown from Logan Woodside, and he made some big plays on fourth down. So it'll be in the fourth, excuse me. So I feel like he's going to be a great addition to this wide receiver room coming in with Chase, Higgins, Yoshi Vosh, and Trenton Irwin. So overall, it's going to be a great year in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm very
Absolutely.
excited. The big talk has been around the wide receiver core, but I like that you brought up our secondary and how that was a large issue for us last year. And our defense is very important because even on that Super Bowl run and the year after that, our defense won us a lot of games. Burrow put us in those games, but our defense capitalized. I mean, in my head, a lot of times that Pratt interception, of course.
Yeah.
And so losing that secondary, not that our secondary was ever really like they were good, they were kind of middle of the pack, but they just kind of added to an already great defense. But I like the Geno Stone pickup because if nothing else, at least your at least the Ravens kind of got a little worse in that category, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Their secondary I'm not too high on. And then Von Bell is a nice guy who we already knows the system. We know he's good. He had you mentioned earlier.
He's played for us. He's done well in the system.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He just went to the Panthers, which,
Nobody
but,
had a good season over
nobody
there last
gets a
year.
Nixon seat over there. But
Yeah.
he got his payday, came back to Cincy, and can maybe help Geno Stone learn that safety position for the Bengals. But Phil, I'll let you talk. I know you got a lot you want to say.
What I really like about Von Bell coming back, I'm hoping he can help develop Dax Hill. I'm hoping that's not a lost project
that too as
anymore.
well.
Yeah.
You know, he might play a little corner, he might play nickelback, but I'm hoping he can still play that safety position a little bit. But time will tell with him for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
and if nothing else, adding depth to that position is always going to be great. Having a guy you can trust in that position will be very nice. But I will circle back to that wide receiver core because obviously we have. Hopefully, is Jamar Chase officially back yet? Are we still waiting, or what's going on with him?
I think he's been at practice.
He's been at
He
practices
just hasn't
and
really
stuff.
been playing much.
Yeah,
But he's not holding out. or
Still playing a
anything,
little
I
hard to
would
get,
imagine.
but yeah, okay. But
No,
anyways,
he'll play.
so we got Jamar Chase, we got T. Higgins back, and I like the mentality from T. Higgins. Like he's like, this might be my last year, but I'm going to give you my all.
Yeah.
And I love that mentality from him, and hopefully he puts up a great audition for the major contract he gets. But so you got those two locked down, and then that third position, I think Mike Gesicki will probably take a third receiver. Obviously, he'll be a tight end,
Okay.
but I think
Yeah,
he will
I like
definitely
that.
pick up. I think he was a great pickup, a lot better than maybe some people give him credit for. And with Joe Burrow at quarterback, probably the best quarterback he's played with.
Oh, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
I think he will most certainly flourish in that. And then we got the slot receiver that's been Tyler Boyd for a while. I will very much miss Tyler Boyd. Loved
yeah.
him. But I think Yoshi, I think Irwin, and you mentioned Burton can all be very interesting. And maybe depending upon the game plan, I think they're all kind of three different receivers that you can kind of slot in for whatever game plan you have against that secondary, against that defense. So I like what we have at receiver. I'm not as worried as maybe some other people are. That O-line's always going to be an issue, but I think they are also at some area that doesn't get enough credit, as they are not good, but they're not the worst in the NFL anymore. They have at least somewhat improved on that Super Bowl year.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
yeah, we could talk forever. We definitely went over our time on the Bengals. We
All
could
right.
talk about them forever, but
Who day?
there are other teams in this division, I suppose. So the Steelers, that's you again, right? Then
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they finished third last season.
They finished 10-7. Is that third? I
That
believe
was,
so.
Yes,
It
yeah,
was?
that was third.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'll let you take it away.
All right, man. So like we mentioned, Steelers finished 10-7 last season. Their additions this offseason, they got Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Dante Jackson, Troy Fetnu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. Fatanu.
Yep.
All right. They got Patrick Queen, which is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Wide receiver Van Jefferson, Deshaun Elliott. Their losses, they lost Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Presley Harvin III, and Dante Johnson. And one of my biggest questions was, who's going to be the wide receiver behind George Pickens? Because
Yeah.
it's like, it's no doubt.
It's
like,
very thin.
yeah, George Pickens, he's obviously going to be their number one guy. But it'll be interesting to see how Van Jefferson and Roman Wilson will step up. They obviously got Wilson from the draft, so
Right.
I feel like he's more than likely going to be the wide receiver too, in my opinion. And with the quarterback situation, though, it's I don't know about you guys, but it's just kind of tough. I mean,
It is.
Wilson with his leadership, and is this possibly going to be the last chance they're going to give Russell Wilson this year? I mean,
As a
It
starter.
seems like
As a
it.
starter, yeah.
I would imagine so.
but with Justin Wilson, Justin Fields, excuse
Justin
me.
Fields, Justin Wilson.
Sorry about that.
No,
But
no problem.
it'll be interesting to see how he'll develop in Pittsburgh. I mean, this would be a great fresh start for him. I mean, he's got a great weapon in George Pickens. I mean, both these guys, they showed flashes in the preseason, and it'll be interesting to see how they'll do with new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, which I feel like that's going to be very beneficial to that team.
Yeah.
You don't-
So long as he doesn't bring his Falcons persona over.
Right?
Oh, man, queuing lots of Van Jefferson.
Yeah, be ready for that wide receiver
games.
3 to go crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But like last year with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, the Steelers ranked 25th in total offense and 27th in scoring offense. So, man, to get rid of both those guys and bring these two guys in, though, that was a big move for sure.
Yeah, it's just Russell Wilson obviously is a hell of a player.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think there is maybe some truth behind he just did not have a chance in Denver. Him and Sean Payton never really got along. And
Right.
even last season, even with visibly a disconnect between those two, Wilson still did decent. They
I think
won
he had
some games.
28 passing touchdowns.
Yeah,
So
so he still
great
had a
year.
great year.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of negative connotation just because he's kind of a corny dude and stuff like that.
Sure.
But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, kind of, I say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think he still is a solid middle of the pack quarterback, which is really all this team needed last year and any year since Roethlisberger. So if he can be that, they can be pretty good. Will he be that? We'll wait. We have to wait and see. But also Justin Fields. I really want to see Justin Fields
I
succeed
think
after what the
everybody
Bears.
does.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
We just want to see him succeed and want him to have a good chance in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just get him a chance. And I don't know if the Steelers' situation with the wide receivers is necessarily the best, but you just got to take what you can get.
For sure.
I'd say Wilson pretty much has that starter locked up, but he's getting old. Maybe an injury befalls him, and maybe we see Justin Fields go in and plug and play. But outside of that, I don't really see much turnover in any other area of the team. It seems like it is mostly the same team from last year. There was definitely, some players left and they filled those holes. But yeah, wide receiver is definitely the main issue. Is outside of Pickens, I don't know where anybody would throw to.
And
so
the case on that
and they got
room may
Freiermuth
not
as
be
well.
closed yet. They're still pursuing Brandon Ayuk. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know
that's
if I'm the
true.
only
Yeah,
one sick of hearing about
Right,
that. But
yeah.
I just want something to happen.
Yeah,
here,
it just
you
feels
know?
like a love triangle that's just never going to end with Ayuk. But
I mean, I don't know. He might get traded there before the trade deadline, maybe.
yeah,
I
but
don't
then
know.
apparently the
Yeah.
Niners are dead set on getting him on an extension or something. So it's just going
Yeah,
to be
we just don't
a
know.
nice soap drama. And even when he gets there, how will he fit in with the team? It might take a little bit. I think Ayuk's definitely an incredibly talented player. I know Josh is really high on him, but
Definitely.
yeah, just want to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But we need to speed things up here. We are getting short. We
right.
have the Browns up next. That's your team, Phil.
Correct. I'll
So-
make it
Right.
quick with this one.
All right, I'll let you go ahead and take over. I honestly can't really think of what they did besides you mentioned earlier.
Jerry Jeudy. Yeah.
but
You know,
go
I
ahead.
think they had a pretty decent offseason,
Okay.
actually. So they re-signed Zadarius Smith. He was coming off a big year with them.
Mm-hmm.
Only had 5.5 sacks, but he really strived in pass rush win rate with a 22.1%
Okay.
win rate. He's on a 2-year deal with them, and he'll just add to Myles Garrett. They have a great
Absolutely.
tandem there in the edge rushing. They went ahead and got Jordan Hicks from the Eagles, I believe, on a 2-year
right.
deal. He's had 100-plus tackles in 4 out of the last 5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He was injured with a muscle spasm thing he had going on last year, so he was out 4 games. But he's a really good person filling in for Anthony Walker, who they let walk this season. He was a big former captain for them the last couple years, so hopefully Jordan Hicks can fill that leadership role.
Yeah.
For quarterbacks, man, they really revamped their room. They let Joe Flacco go, which I'm sure some of the fans were a little upset about that.
Right.
Yep.
But the coach was saying he was worried about if Deshaun Watson started the season slow, that the fans were going to be wanting Joe Flacco to start.
Right.
And obviously he's not the future.
Right.
So
right.
they went ahead and got Jameis Winston on a
Yes.
1-year deal. And then they got Tyler Huntley from the Ravens, too.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
that's probably the best QB room, or one of.
Yeah, and
And
they
just in
still
terms of
got
depth, I mean.
DTR there on that rookie deal. So they got 4 QBs going into the season. They're probably going to have to drop one.
Yeah.
Or at least put him on the practice squad. And then they re-signed Maurice Hurst on the D-line. He's a good player. One of the signings I really liked is they got Donta Foreman and running back. I think he was with the Bears last season. He's a bit of a bruiser, so he can
Right.
fill in for that third and short distance that Nick Chubb would have been taking, with him missing part of the season.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you see anything? He's going to be out for like half the season or something like that?
Yeah, at least I think the first 4 weeks or so is what
Yeah.
I've seen.
I'm kind of rooting for him as well. I know it's a division opponent, but I'm rooting for him to make a comeback.
Then I got one more thing before we get to the biggest move of their offseason.
Yep.
They got Greg Newsome on the 5th-year deal. So they have an awesome cornerback room now
Right.
with Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, and then Denzel Ward, of course.
Right.
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
And then their big move was obviously getting Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if you want to call it big because they only gave up a 6th-round pick.
Right.
I think that's a steal
The
for
absolute
them.
steal for sure.
So they got a great wide receiver duo with him and Amari Cooper.
Cooper,
Two
yeah.
great route runners right there.
For sure.
Yeah. So I really like what they did this offseason. I think they added to an already great roster. It's all going to come down to, I think, can they just get even average quarterback play out of Watson? I
Yeah.
think that's all this team needs.
If you could get like half of Texans Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
this is a scary team.
Oh,
This
for
is
sure.
truly a scary
For
team.
sure.
And I think either we were having this conversation, I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but all things aside, if Deshaun Watson were to magically come back in the Texans form, we are talking a championship contender.
For sure,
one
for
seed
Like,
in the
where's the
AFC
hole on this
potentially.
team?
Oh, man.
Their O-line's great. Their defense is great.
Yep.
all around just
It's
amazing.
all around.
roster.
The wide receiver room's pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't assume that Watson would be good in my predictions, but, I mean, if he is, this team is absolutely scary.
And we're talking about a team that went, I think, 11-6, or was it 12-5 in last season?
11-6, I believe.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually a division crown number
Absolutely.
right there. They
Yeah.
just happened to have the best team in the AFC last year.
Yeah.
In their division.
Yeah, I mean, overall though, I'm just excited to see what this team can do. I mean, if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy though, I believe it. They can be a really good team. Not only a really good team, but a actual championship threat. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, with this talent though on the offense and on the defense though, but I'm interested to see how Jerry Jeudy will develop in Cleveland. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we've seen flashes of him in Denver though, but
No, he's never had the quarterback play for really anything too crazy.
yeah, I mean, he wasn't on the best team in Denver, but
Had a little injury issues as well, if I
Injury.
remember correctly.
yeah, injury issues as well. But he didn't even have a 1,000-yard season there in his 4 seasons. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was mind-boggling though. But I feel like this dude, in a way, he's not getting the credit that I feel like he deserves. And now
Yeah.
that he's coming in to a really good situation in Cleveland with this offense and a new offensive coordinator, though, I feel like he is going to step up big and he is going to have a career year in Cleveland. And who knows, in years to come.
All right. Well, hopefully. Let's go ahead to the Baltimore Ravens. I'll quickly go through them. I wanted to talk a little bit more because this is a team that honestly might fall off this year, and I'll explain why. We have Derrick Henry, Josh Jones, and Chris Board are their big pickups. Obviously, the biggest one there being Derrick Henry, but they lost a lot. Tyler Huntley, we mentioned earlier, J.K. Dobbins to the Chargers, Gus Edwards to the Chargers, OBJ to the Dolphins, and you got Morgan Moses, Kevin Zeitler. And those are two big offensive line losses that could definitely hurt this team as a running team. Jadeveon Zeitler? Zeitler.
Kevin
Okay.
Zeitler for the record.
Okay. Jadeveon Clowney, he actually had a really good resurgent season last year, which is something I didn't know until I did research on this. Patrick Queen, just another piece on that defense. Ronald Darby, and this is the big issue. Rock Ya-Sin and Geno Stone, we mentioned earlier, all gone, and just losing that secondary, something that they kind of fixed last year, but it's something that had been an issue in previous years. They don't have much depth there this year, and offensive line also is something that they lost after Jackson's first MVP season. We saw major regression that season after losing that offensive line. So could that be in play here? I think so. We don't have much time, so we're going to go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you guys off. I'm sure you have stuff you want to say about the Ravens, but we have 5 minutes. So, Phil, I'm going to go ahead and let you do your hot take, and then we will give our standings predictions.
All right.
I think my hot take was just pretty Bengals biased, but it was just Joe Burrow.
I forgot you gave it last season a little bit, or last week. But for those that didn't watch last week, what was your hot take?
I was Joe Burrow taking home the MVP.
Yeah, I think there's a little more. He said something like 5,000 yards or something
and
like
something
that.
about him breaking the passing yard record and winning the Super Bowl.
He's just trying to gloss over it.
But the biggest takeaway from there was Joe Burrow winning the MVP. I think it's very possible. Just can he stay healthy for the season?
It's the health. It's the health and just overall just how the team performs. But so let's go ahead and get into our standings predictions. Breaking news. What do you got, Garrett?
All right.
I have an update on the race final.
All right. Let's hear it.
All right, your top 10 for the Firekeepers.
Let's keep it at a top 3.
All right. Tyler Reddick wins. William Byron second. Ty Gibbs third.
So the top 3 just kind of alternated there.
Well, I thought it was interesting. So I said Ryan Blaney was in 6th in the update. He fell all the way to 18th.
Wow.
Oh, man.
So somebody cut him off or dumped him or something. That'll be interesting to see how that all looks. But 2 hour standings predictions. Phil, like I said, guest, I'll let you go first. What do you got?
I've got the Bengals winning it at 12-5.
Okay.
And the Ravens 11-6.
Okay.
Browns 9-8, and Steelers 7-10.
Interesting. We have similar records, but in different places.
Okay.
What do you got, Ben?
All right. I'm going Steelers 9-8 because everybody knows Mike Tomlin's never going to finish below 500.
I disagree this year.
Really? I'm going Browns 10-7, Ravens 11-6, and Bengals 12-5, and they win the AFC North. Who day?
Who day? Yeah, I actually have the Steelers in last at 6-11.
Wow.
I honestly, when I went through it, I was just going through the schedule, not really thinking about like, oh, this is the Steelers we're talking about. So that's just the record I came up with. Had I thought that, I probably would have ended up giving them 9-8. But 9-8, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I think they seriously regress this year with that offensive line loss and the secondary, I think, and injuries. That's the one thing. They very consistently have injuries. They didn't have many last year. I mean, hopefully, obviously, nobody gets injured, but it is kind of more of a pattern for them to get injured. Anyways, to the Cleveland Browns, we have 10-7, and then your AFC North champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland honestly could go higher, like I said, if Deshaun Watson plays better. Yes, Garrett, I'm ignoring you. It is time for the 2-minute warning, and first and foremost, who is your AFC North breakout player? I got Yoshi. Phil, who you got?
I'm going to take Martin Emerson from the Browns. I touched on him, but yeah, I think he'll have a big season.
Okay. Ben?
I'm going Yoshi as well.
All right. Well, we hope so, right?
Yep.
Week 0 games this weekend. Are you excited to wake up in a week? Honestly, I don't know what Josh meant by that. He was going to present it. Do you know what he means by that, Garrett? I know he's talking about like college football, but
I get he's talking about are you going to be watching the week 0 games, or are you just going to wait to deep dive into college football until the true week 1?
Okay, I'll probably tune in if it's on and I'm around.
I mean, I'll probably be watching the Georgia Tech Florida State Dublin game.
Yes.
I mean, you can't not tune into a college football game in Dublin.
Right,
that's crazy.
That's the main one.
Oh.
What about you guys? Will you be watching?
I'm going to be watching the Florida State versus Georgia Tech game.
All right. Yeah, I like that.
Are you going to be watching, Phil?
Probably not.
All right. And then, well, this will be a fun one for Phil. Who wins the Coke Zero Sugar 400 in Daytona? Ben.
Michael McDowell.
Michael McDowell.
Yeah, I'll piggyback there.
Name a NASCAR driver.
I cannot.
Phil, pick Carson Hocevar.
Carson Hocevar.
All
Not a bad pick.
I will be Josh's representative this week and say Kyle Busch gets it done. I don't want RCR to have 2 cars, but here we are. So that is the 2-minute warning for today. That was what an episode, guys. That was
Oh, yeah. A lot of fun.
That was something else. Phil, we'll see you back on the live show September 3rd, 7:30
Wonderful.
p.m.
I
Be
can't
sure
wait.
to be there or be square or whatever you want to be. But thank you all for listening. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at NorseBWPod. Hit that subscribe button. At 50 subscribers, we will be doing a giveaway. And thank you all for coming on to the show. Thank you, Garrett, for all the work that you do. Thank you, Bill and NKU Media Services. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace.